what we are going to see today, like what is Linux and who is created, what is GNU and GPL, and what is difference in Unix and GNU, and use of Linux and advantage and disadvantage. So, so as we go with the history, people call like Linux is a Unix clone. Why is it? So in the history when Unix launch, who launched it? So Unix is launched by like Dennis Ritchie, uh, who wrote the C. Okay, so initially Unix are like written in Ansible language. Okay, and the project started in 1969 and they written in Ansible, but that not completed because of some technical reason. After that, Dennis Ritchie, who continue the Unix writing in the C. Initially, Unix is a open source, but after some time, they are started like selling the Unix source code, and after some time, it's become closed. Like the the source code is become closed because the numbers of company buy that code and they are selling on their name. For example, IBM AIX or HP UX and many more. So uh, in a 1984, in 1984, the guy name is Richard Stallman, who like started GNU. Let me give you yeah, started the GNU, stand for GNU, not Unix. Okay, the goal is they are he want to set up organization who basically support or who basically launch open source product. Okay, so they want to like create a complete Unix like operating system. Okay, they also release many projects like GCC, GNU, and Emacs, Bash, and many more. So basically, GNU provide, you can say, a license under GPL for open source and freeware software. Okay. Yeah, this is a GPL. GPL like general public license. It ensure the GNU software stay free and open source. This done by through copylifting, and GPL only give a license to Linux. Okay, so let's go with the now Linux. So in 1991, the guy named uh, Linus Torvald, like he started or he wants to because he's looking for some operating system which is like open source where he can do some their you can say uh, like uh, a project. Okay, you're looking for that type of freeware or open source operating system, but he didn't get like proper open source or freeware operating system. So he think like he started a project where he want to build a kernel. Okay, that could be open source. Okay, so he started and he launch a kernel. Basically, Linux is not a operating system, it is a kernel. Okay, so he started and he released and he asked GNU to give a license that kernel in under his GPL. So they came and they tested that, and whatever the measurement they took, and after that it gave Linux basically license, open source license. After that, many you can say developers or many vendors who took Linux source code and builded operating system. Okay, so basically Linux is a free. Okay, you can download from Linux kernel. I'm talking about Linux. So Linux means a kernel, not an operating system. Okay, so if you want to build a operating system, just go to the kernel.org where you can get a Linux kernel Linux kernel. You can download and you can build it your own operating system. So it is a free, okay, and open source. So anyone can download and compile the source code. The code can be modified by anyone, provide the modification and release to the community. Okay. So so what is kernel? Like as I said, is Linux is not an operating system, it's a kernel. So what is kernel? Kernel is a program. I think you guys know already. Kernel is a program that allocates and control the hardware resources. Basically, it is a core component of operating system. It uh, reside between your uh, hardware and your shell. So whenever we give any input to the computer through a you can say through GUI or CLI, first shell going to interpret that input in kernel language. So kernel may be written in an Ansible, like initially they wrote in an Ansible, after that they change it to C. So the Linux kernel is also written in a C. So when we give input, shell will took that input and it interpret to their like the kernel language, like for example C, and kernel understand what is the input. For example, I have give input for an input, it will took that input and forward that input to the right process, sorry, understand, and then forward that input to the right hardware. First it goes to the CPU, then it go to the your printer. Okay, so that's how kernel is work. It's basically a core component of your operating system, basically controlling your hardware resources and other IO uh, systems. So Linux distributions, there are like many Linux distributions which come together with GNU operating system. Okay, so so you can download from this link. If you want to download the Linux kernel, you can download. You can get the latest stable version here in this link. Okay, okay. So basically, kernel the Linux kernel has a monolithic design. Okay, the other approach is microkernel design. Okay, there are two types of, that is monolithic and microkernel of. Okay, so both has some advantage and disadvantage, you can say upside and downsides. Okay, so monolithic kernel are basically easy to build and design. Okay, it's faster. Okay, more recompiles and less object oriented. Microkernels are considered safer and easier to develop drivers. Okay, and only recompile for upgrades. Okay, so compared to monolithic, it's slower kernel, much harder to build and design. Okay, microkernels. Okay, so why should use a Linux? So in the real time or real world, Linux are using for a servers. Okay, so basically we are using a Linux, means Linux GNU operating system for a server. Okay, so where we get much good performance, and like less like cost is also less compared to other server operating systems, and stability. Okay, so yeah, Linux also have a desktop, but in a real time we are using Linux is only for like seven more than 75% for a server. Yeah, so they're not uh, required a desktop or GUI. They are working on a CLI. So advantage, the biggest advantage is Linux is free and open source. So it's uh, like great, or you can say great tool or operating system for a research purpose. Okay, so learning Linux means learning Unix. Like if you compare, more things are same compared to Linux. So compared to Unix, if you're comparing Linux. Okay, and community, the Linux community is very active and helpful. Like Linux community, uh, like who build Linux kernel. Okay, and you will get support also. Like for example, uh, if you downloaded Linux GNU operating system, so the one destroys Ubuntu. If you download that operating system, you will get support also there. They have their own channel where you can put your questions, and they revert you back. Okay, so like what are the resources where you can know about more Linux? So these are the resources, internet resources. You can go through these resources and know about more what is Linux and why do we need, and like that way. Okay, so distributions, what we call are distro also. Okay, so the Red Hat, Mandrake, SUSE, these are, and many more, these are the distribution. Means the community who took Linux kernel and build their own operating system, so that's called a distributions. Okay, or distro. So the Red Hat, Mandrake, SUSE, Ubuntu, Gentoo, Pentoo, and many more. Okay, so if you go through the Linux file system, uh, these are the like file systems. Like file system means you can say hierarchy. Okay, when you installed Linux operating system, Linux GNU operating system on VMware or on your laptop. Okay, so it will install like this in this hierarchy. Okay, so slash means slash partitions, or you can say root partition or root directory. Okay, so where your operating system is reside. Okay, under the root directory you will get this subdirectory. Each subdirectory have their own, you can say, they are categories. The directory is to uh, like for example, boot directory, which contain like kernel files or booting files. Okay, for example, bin directory, which contains a basic system binaries for like commands. Okay, when we running any command on a Linux GNU operating system, that stored in a bin. Okay, there is also one directory called as bin. So this is store basically system binaries, that command which can run by a root user, means administrator user. Okay, and this is a store basic system binary. Basic means like any user can run that command, okay, and others directories. So we discuss more on file system hierarchy when we start our training. Okay, so okay, okay. So as I said, like in the real time, we are not going to work on desktop or GUI. We're going to work on CLI, like accessing or remoting the Linux GNU operating system or Linux machine. So basically, we are SSHing. Okay, SSH the operating system. So we are working on CLI. Okay, so Linux has more like numbers of shell, okay, like bash shell, z shell, c shell, and many more, but the most powerful shell is bash, and most commonly used. Okay, so the CLI in a Linux is quite usable. Okay, so by using CLI, like as I said, you can run or you can uh, do automation also. Okay, okay, so navigation, like for example, if you want to see how many directories and how many files are there in a current, or if you want to see any particular directories, so you can just run that ls command. Okay, like we are running dir command in Windows, like that way it's ls commands working here. Okay, cd commands to change the directory, rm command to remove the files. Okay, and more other navigation switches are there, we'll discuss. Okay, so these are the good distributions of Linux: Red Hat, Mandrake, and Gentoo, Kinopix, and other. So Red Hat basically commercial versions, okay, of Linux. uh, Basically Red Hat two type of version, like one is free and second one is commercial. So the big companies only using a commercial one, commercial versions. Okay, so commercial version means they are going to support, okay, and a subscription wise you have to pay for that. Okay, so these are the pros and cons, like easy to install and tons of graphical tools. Like if you installed it GUI, you will get many graphical tools for painting and many more. Okay, and it will support uh, all the hardware types and the great hardware support you will get in a Red Hat. Basically we are using this Red Hat in our server system only. We can use in our laptop also, but it's great to use in your servers. So one of the most mature like distribution. So we are forwarding with Red Hat only, like we are going to learn about Red Hat's Linux, because it's like many companies are using Red Hat Linux on their systems, on their infra. So that's where we are going with Red Hat only. Okay, so Red Hat also a commercial company. Okay, uh, which uh, like providing a certification also on Linux. Okay, many certification, for example, RSCSA, RSCE, and many others. Okay, so cons are it's slow. They are a stock kernel and somewhat bloated, install file on standard directories and not customizable. Okay, Mandrake basically based on Red Hat. modify to suit desktop system more than Red Hat. Okay, you will get a more uh, good friendly using desktop GUI. Okay, you will get like support that funky DVD decoder card you have to use. Okay, more on the edge than Red Hat, and use a modified kernel. Okay. And one more commercial Linux is SUSE, but I haven't seen any company who are using a SUSE. Okay, there are, but I haven't worked in SUSE. Basically, worked on more on to Ubuntu and Red Hat. Okay, many, because like many companies are using compared to SUSE. Many like 75% are using Red Hat. Okay, same. It's look like a Red Hat only, and great hardware support and easy installation, and still hard to customize. Customize means you can, if you want to customize the operating system, it's very hard. Gentus is there. Okay, like mm, basically they are built it that from scratch, optimizing architecture of your PC, and buzzing speed, highly customizable, and they are for using a forum for a support, and run Quake and Unreal tournament from 2003 out of the box, has a kernel specifically modified for gamers. So basically, they are builded, or they are like customized operating system for a gamers. Okay, so can be overwhelming. Overwhelming means and take long time to build. Do not trip over the power cable while it's building. Like, you have to be keep your power cable. Okay, so I'm going to set up a machine, a Linux machine on AWS. In our training, we're going to like set up on VMware or Linux and cloud also. Okay, so this is AWS cloud where I'm going to set up a Linux machine. Okay, so give the name. So here you will get a numbers of distribution of Linux, like Amazon Linux, Ubuntu, Red Hat, SUSE, and Debian. And if you want to search it, you can browse more here, AMIs. Okay, so like that way you can select, and these all are your Linux and Unix distributions. SUSE, Ubuntu. Okay, you will get CentOS also here. So let me select. I'm selecting Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8, RHL 8. Okay, Here I need to create a key pair for authentication, so I can log in into a machine. Okay. Here you can give your network setting and all. Okay. And your storage configuration like 10 GB, whatever you want, you can give here. Okay. And just click on launch instance. So this machine is created in Mumbai data center. How we can log into? Okay. So there is a way. If you have a Windows laptop, you can use Putty or PowerShell. Okay. And Git Bash and many more are there. We'll wait like initialization to be completed. Okay. So I can use Git Bash. Okay. So I have to navigate to that location where I have my, like I have downloaded that key pair na, so it goes to the downloads. I have to navigate there. And now I want to log into the Red Hat machine. Okay. So run this command. Let me font. Let me increase the size of font. Okay. Okay. So how you can log in? Just do SSH hyphen I and give your uh, key pair file name. Okay. And the default username, if you are installing in if you're setuping in AWS, is a default username to use where we can log in and give IP. So like this way you can log in your remote machine, like remote Linux machine, by running this command. This is a one way to log in. Okay. SSH hyphen I. Why I'm putting hyphen I? Hyphen I basically a calling like option for defining PAM file. So PAM file basically uh, called uh, private key. Okay. So when I said the key pair, so AWS generated two key. One is public, second is private. Okay. Publics is stored in a AWS side and they have give us private. So what does this key do? Basically, it's followed the encryption method. Okay. And when we pass this private key, this private key going to match to the public key, which is in AWS side. Okay, if it matched, we are going to logged into this machine. Okay, so we are in C. So what this prompt says when we are logged, this is a prompt. Okay, what this prompt says. So just say like we are logged in into this user, uh, and this is our host name. If you type here host name command, it will show your host name. Like in Windows, if you go to the my computer properties, they will show you the device name. Like that way, it's a host name. Okay, so when I run a host name command, it shows your host name. Okay, you can change also your host name by running host name and uh, a name. Okay, so this, wait a second, let me do. So host name only can change by root user. Okay, so we understand like this is your user name and this is your host name. When I relog in, this will change to demo. Okay, when I relog in, this will change to demo. Okay, because of the cache is showing this. Okay, and this dollar means we are logging to standard user. Okay, standard user who has a basic permission to run basic commands or basic things to do. Okay, there are two type of user. One is standard, second one is administrator, or you can say super user. Okay, standard user means like this way, and super user is your root user. Okay, who have a privilege to do anything. Okay, that is root user. Okay, for example, I'm changing my host name of machine. So standard user can't do that. Okay, only, you see, it's saying you must be root to change the host name. So it's mean only root user can change the host name. So I ran this command. We'll discuss on this sudo host name demo. Okay, and what is this tilde mark saying here? Okay, basically it's saying like we are in the home directory of user. Okay, this is mean user, this is mean host name, and this is mean home directory of your user. And this dollar mark is means like your user is standard user. Okay, so let me change it. For example, let me log into the root sudo su. Okay, see, I am in root user. See, and this is my host name. Okay, which I change it to demo. Okay, and this is our directory. This is also showing directory, but is a tilde mark, it means home directory. And this is our directory where we are. Okay, like for example, if you want to see like where we are currently, so just run pwd command, print working directory. It will print the working directory where we are. Okay, so this is the working directory. Okay, sudo su. So as I run sudo, so what sudo will do, so for example, there is a scenario like we can't use root user in a real time. So what we do in a day-to-day activity, we have given or delegating a root privilege to some users. Okay, for example, I have delegated root privilege to this user. Okay, so if you want to run some system binaries, okay, which only can run by a root, so and you don't want to use a root user. Okay, so what you can do, just delegate that root privilege to the some user, and by adding us one command on your full command, by adding this command sudo, you can run that command, that a privilege commands. Okay, sudo basically, when we giving this sudo, it enabling user working as a root. Okay, it enabling standard user to work as a root user. Okay, so for example, I'm changing my host name, my system host name, to like different name, for example demo. So uh, we know, like standard user can't do that. So what we did earlier, we just given that root privilege to the this standard user. So to running this standard user in a root, as a root, so you can add this sudo also. So I have added this sudo to enabling this root, to this user work as a root, and then our full command. Okay, so for example, if you want to log into the root user or any user, so we just do like su, like switch user, switch from one to another. So switch user and your username. See, okay, but if you want to run some privilege command, okay, so you can run sudo by using this standard user. Okay, sudo space, if you want to run sub privilege command, sudo space mm, disk. Let me run different command. For example, if you want to add another user, we have only one user, that is standard user, ec2-user. I want to add some more. So that user can only added by root only. Okay, so I already delegated root permission, root privilege to this user. So this also can added or running the any root command. Okay, so for running, so I'm added sudo, then your command, for example user adding command. So user add and give the username. Okay, so I ran this command and user has been added. Okay, so how you can log into the user, to that user, just run su command, switch user. Okay, from one user to another user, you can run su command. One second, guys. Okay, so okay, for example, I want to log into the that Ritesh user. So just give su and then username. Here they will ask a password. Okay, but the thing is we haven't set the password. So as you guys know, in a Windows, without password, if you not set up a password, you can log in. Okay, but in a Linux, if you haven't set up a password, you can't log in. Okay, they will ask a password. Okay, so to set up that password, that user password, just run pass passwd command to set up a password, and should also, so only root user can set up a password to other users. Okay, sudo root user, or you can say a user which acting like a root, that can change a password to other user. Okay, so that's why I added a sudo here, because I want to use this user as a root. Okay, sudo password and the name of user passwd. Okay, and then change the password and give the password. Okay, the password has set up. Now we can logged in. Okay, see, you are logged in a different user. Okay, if you want to exit from this user, just type exit. Okay, now see some basic commands. For example, ls. Okay, ls command basically list out the files and directory. uh, if you want to run this on your current location, just type ls command, so it will list out your files and directory. So we don't have any files and directory in this location. Okay, let me move it to the another location. Okay, and how we can move to another location? Cd command, change directory. Okay, cd space and your path. Okay, this is your path. Okay, and run ls. See, these are the files and directory. Okay, but we want more information. They are only showing the files and directory. Okay, we want some more information, so you can run long information. You can run -l. So whenever we put a hyphen plus any character, this called a option. Like we are basically uh, like enabling, or you can say changing the behavior, okay, of a command. So basically I want to list out, but in the long, with the long information. Okay, see, it's showing the permission of files directory, and and your owner, like files owner, and file group, and size of the file. Okay, and where it's created, when it's created. Okay, so it's showing like it is a files or directory. D means it is a directory, and hyphen means is normal file. Okay, if you want to see the size, file size in human readable, like for example MB, GB. Okay, that side it's showing bytes, but I want to say in MB and GB manner. Okay, just give one more option, H, human readable. See, KB. Earlier it's showing in a byte. Now it's showing in a like KB or MB, whatever it is. Okay. Okay. CD command. Okay. So CD, as I told you, like CD is for chain directory. If you want to uh, change your path, current path, you can use or current location, you can use a CD. Okay, for example cd space your path. Okay, slash, and okay, any question guys? Hello, hello, is there any question?
No.
Okay, 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 cd space and where you want to go. Okay, yeah, that particular path. Okay, slash, for example boot. Okay, If you want to go one step back, okay, like you want to out from this boot directory, so run the cd space dot dot. You will came out from this location one step back. See, one step back means root directory. Okay, like one step back, like early, like for example, I will move to the slash boot. So slash means root directory, and this is another directory. So as told you guys, like file system hierarchy, in the file system hierarchy, Linux has a full file system, like uh, slash, under the slash you have numbers of subdirectory. So slash means root directory. Okay, so root directory as a main directory. Like for example, if you installed a window machine, okay, so you create a partition, that partition called a C partition. Okay, same here, when we create a partition for installing a machine, for installing a Linux, you need to create a root partition. Okay, that is slash. Okay, where your operating system going to be installed. You can otherwise you can create it like that way, like root partition, and for a booting mesh, for a booting files, you can create a boot partition like that way. Okay, you can differentiate or categorize, like for a boot, we're going to create another partition. For a root, you can going to be create a root partition. Okay, so in our system, in this machine, we have a single partition called root partition, where all the directories are there. Okay, so if you move to the one location to another locations, so you have to mention, like for example, I'm to in this location, I want to go to this location. So you have to mention, so this location are a correct path, like slash means root directory. Under the root directory, you will get this subdirectory, like that way. Okay, and if you want to came out from boot partition, only boot, sorry, not boot partition, boot directory. Okay, so just run cd space dot dot. Okay, when you run cd space dot dot, you came out from this boot partition, boot directories. This means you are into this root directory. Okay, if you want to go to the home directory of user, if you want to go to the home directory of user, for example, our current user is ec2-user. Okay, if you want to go to the home directory of this user, just type cd space tilde, cd space tilde. You move to the home directory of user. So this is a home directory of user, home slash, sorry, pwd. Okay, so this is a home directory of this user, ec2-user, and this is a user and its home directory. This is its home directory. Okay, so all by default, all home directory reside under this directory, all user home directory by default. If you create any user, for example, we have created a Ritesh user, you can check it here. Go to the home, go to the this directory and run ls command. See, this home directory for ec2-user, this home directory for Ritesh user. So whenever you create any user, the system, Linux system, going to create a home directory with the name of user only. Okay, you can change that also. You can change, you can define a different name. By default, they followed this manner. Okay, and they're going to create a home directory on this location only, this location. You can change that also. Okay, we'll see on our next classes. Okay. Okay. So we also has editor here, file editor. We also have like there is vi. Okay, so is a file editor. Just type vi. Like many people, many engineers like use a vi command to add it, to create, to read file. Okay, vi space and the file name, your file name. Okay, like this way, and just press I for insert and you can type anything. If you want to save, just escape colon q. Okay, like this way you can edit file or create file. Okay, or read file by vi. There is a one more version of vi. It's vim, latest versions. Okay, vim improved version. You can use a vim also. Okay, and there are also other editors. uh, we'll discuss in details each commands, each editor in our training. Okay, so these are editors. We have one more editors called nano. Okay, and the file name. Okay, so the nano is not there. Okay, so we we don't have this nano editor here. Okay, so but we want. Okay, how we can going to install it. Okay, so you can run sudo. If you are into standard user, just run sudo and this command yum install. So yum is a package manager. Okay, installer. Okay, basically it's managing the package, install, remove, update, upgrade. Okay, you can do by yum. If you're using Red Hat, CentOS, if you're using Amazon Linux, so you can give this package manager. Okay, yum install. I know. See what it's showing. This system is not registered. Okay, means you have to, if you have license, if you have a subscription, you can give to, you can give to this machine, like you can add it into this machine. This will, this error will gone. Okay, means your machine get registered to the Red Hat. Okay, because we haven't registered, that's why it's showing this. Okay, this mean Red Hat is a commercial version. Okay, see,